Welcome, everybody, to the Coalition for Marriage YouTube channel. If you're joining us for the first time, it's a real privilege to have you here. Please subscribe. And if you want to receive mailings from us, hop across to our website. Link is in the description and join our mailing list. It's completely free. Now, we have a very special guest today, somebody who is an author of a seminal piece of work on marriage, the Marriage Files, somebody who has written for national newspapers, somebody who's been a family policy analyst, sociologist, so many different things. It's a real privilege to have with us today, Patricia Morgan. Patricia, how would you describe yourself?
I've been a researcher and author into politically sort of incorrect areas that maybe are not investigated enough. I wrote for the Telegraph and for the Mail and Guardian, I think, a couple of times.
Back in the day, you were a bit like a female Peter Hitchens, were you?
I were, yes. I think that's quite good, but do I flatter myself like that? But
I'm flattering Peter.
Of course, some of the things which maybe I was caught up in, I might regret now.
How did that start off?
I suppose it started off when I did my first book, Delinquent Fantasies. There is probably the longest in criminology cohort study of delinquents, started in the 30s in Chicago. And it goes right on, the member interviewed last in their 70s. And they looked at what drew them out of crime. And it was, first of all, marriage, work, employment, military. See, that imposes a structure. It gives you purpose. It gives you controls around you.
So tell us about the Marriage Files. How did that come about?
I've done quite a bit previously on marriage and family structure, the influences upon it, and a lot on the development in the welfare and tax systems. I was in the Centre for Policy Studies groups there, dealing with crime, with education and that sort of thing. I did a lot of work on family decline and the tax benefit system for the Institute of Economic Affairs as it was then. They were all sort of old-fashioned conservatives. They were very pro-family. And so they were willing to publish a lot of stuff on that. I did quite a lot of work for them. I suppose I brought together in the Marriage Files a lot of arguments I'd explored before on what's happening with the family, the way that it's been treated, discrimination against the family in the fiscal system, and also what was looming, which was, of course, the same-sex marriage, which again was a dilution and said by many people that's what they wanted, in fact, again, to undermine marriage, if we can get it to. Then it will expand to threesomes, to throuples, and it will be bigamous, and then it can totally disintegrate. Various sociologists at the time were very, very anti-marriage.
If you were to do another edition of the Marriage Files, or if you were to rewrite it today, is there anything else you would add or change?
No, no, not really. When I saw it a while ago, I thought, no, that's right. Who wrote that?
Why do you think there was such an antagonism towards marriage?
It's dreadful, really, isn't it, when you think about it, because it's advantageous to children in every sphere and to adults generally. And I do still find it rather difficult to think, how could so much hatred be directed against it? It certainly comes from the sort of 60s counterculture, the upheavals then, the feminism then, which sort of turns into a very anti-marriage, anti-family agenda, promotion of promiscuity, that marriage was in the way of that. The tie-ups with Marxism, of course. I still find it now, early sort of Engels and Marx.
The idea that sex should be like drinking a glass of water.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a maxim of the day, wasn't it?
It was, yes. And it's come forward, and I always find it rather ironic.
I often get asked the question, Patricia, why don't you people who want to believe in real marriage, one man, one woman marriage, why don't you just get on with it and let people who are same-sex get married too, because that isn't hurting anybody?
How did somebody like Carol Smart put forward in, I think, 1984, what she'd do to get rid of marriage? Well, she'd take her out any incentives in the fiscal or the benefit system, which marriage was being done. She would give any benefits of marriage, inheritance, or this sort of thing. She'd get rid of all of that, and she'd give marriage to anybody who wanted it. And that's how she'd get rid of it, pull the stops out like that. And that's what they've been doing. And we've gone on from there to have now complete no-fault divorce, step out of a marriage whenever you want without giving a reason. So if there's no reason to end a marriage, what's the reasons to start one? Any number in a relationship, and it's just what you make up at any point in time.
If you were to redefine salt as including sugar, because sugar is also white and granular.
Yeah.
You know, and you might think, well, don't be so bigoted. Include sugar. Why wouldn't you include sugar? Well, you know, white is white, granular is granular, love is love. But
that's what sugar input. As long as there's a bucket of love, that's all you need. The emotion, and it's just you. So it's right is anything I do, and everything I do is right.
For same-sex relationships, there is no defined sex act.
No.
Unlike heterosexual marriage, which is about consummation, it's about sex.
And about fidelity.
Yeah, exclusivity and sex. What we've ended up doing is saying, well, because you can't define a sex act for same-sex relationships, we therefore better take it away for heterosexual relationships too.
Exactly, which is what's happening. So once you've you've denied those basic criteria, you've got no basis for it. It's not hatred to say, well, you don't fit the criteria. We can't do that because, and that's not hatred. Many people don't fit a lot of criteria.
Well, that's right. I mean, I would love to have been a fighter pilot, but it turns out I can't see, and apparently you need to be able to see to be a fighter pilot.
I think you do. Yes,
it's helpful. Apparently,
is that hate?
That's not hatred, though.
No, I think that it's the whole business of what we're getting, the clamp down on free speech. That you disagree over something, and it must be hate.
If you're willing, tell me a little bit about your own experience in terms of the negative responses, having written some of the stuff you've written.
In my days in journalism, you couldn't get the sort of hate spewed at you because there wasn't the particular means to do it then like there is now. And strangely enough, over the Telegraph, I did get some of that. But now it's more targeted. But after the marriage files, I did get a lot of abuse sent to me, emails and by phone. Terrible stuff.
Just for expressing your view.
Yeah, it was terrible stuff. And I'm going to be murdered and raped, and the pictures of women being crucified and
my goodness,
and impaled, all this sort of stuff.
Yes.
I try and deal just with research. I do research. I like to back my stuff up. I like it to be fairly bulletproof, This is the thing. What's happening now is that with the hate speech, deplatforming of people, the cancel culture, it's trended, of course, into a crush down on science as well. You mustn't investigate certain things. You mustn't come to certain conclusions.
Yep.
And it's tending into the denial of reality. Everything, even to the existence of two sexes, is just a social construct. And what we tend to be getting is sort of mob crazes, really. These are, again, because of the technological developments with the internet, you can really spread these mob movements so quickly, and because of that you're getting it flooding into education, into the schools. And the thing that brings it to mind was the lack of authority. We don't seem to have anybody in authority now who can say, just stop this is nonsense.
What's next, do you think? Where's this going to end?
I think Douglas Murray's got a point, and in a way it's typified by that police signage about being offensive is an offence. We seem to have lost general purpose. It's St George in retirement syndrome. These groups, you've got what you want, but you keep waving your sword around in the air trying to find a dragon. So you create something. We don't have that sort of identity anymore, and that pride in anything. I'm talking about pride in the old-fashioned sense. We don't have that pride in anything anymore. So what do we latch on to? Any mob craze that comes along.
Those of us who still see the value of traditional marriage, what do you think we should do? how do you think we should reclaim the territory?
I think we have to claw back rights to discussion, to debate, and to legal changes. There has to be more people protesting to show those in power that there's other views out here. Actually, every government department and lots of firms, so big ones, are, for example, joined up with identity groups and they're paying money to them. Even the Crown Prosecution, so I've been a member of Stonewall Diversity Chambers, isn't the state supposed to be impartial? But it has to be counteracted, I think.
So for corporate organisations, often it's nothing more than a business decision because they want to protect themselves from attack, so they'll virtue signal.
Absolutely. And you think you're going to, get far more customers or support because you're backing mermaids or this organisation or that organisation. But there's others out here and you depend on us as well. One issue which, of course, I campaigned on an awful lot is to get recognition for families through the tax system. The situation with tax is the worst in Europe when it comes to supporting families.
What 2 or 3 pieces of advice would you give to other people who are coming through the system, would maybe think that they would like to get involved in the policy side of the debate or write or contribute in some way, but are a bit fearful? What advice would you give them?
Where you can, yes, get involved in an organisation you can find, if possible, get allies. Make sure that you may write to your MPs, you may write to your representatives when these issues come up. Don't let them get away with it quite so much.
And it sounds a really boring thing to do, but it's vitally important.
It is, to let them know that there's something else out there.
Would you recommend people join a political party, get involved with the local association, get involved with choosing candidates?
Yes, but people can get disillusioned when you are overwhelmed with the political correctness.
Maybe even find a friend and join together.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good idea.
Anything else you'd like to leave us with, Patricia?
I've been very surprised at the way that marriage has been just dismembered, and particularly by the Conservative Party. It's people up there that should be saying something, or somebody should be saying something.
The risk is, if there isn't a centre right, the risk is that people go further right, and that's not great, is it really?
That's not great at all. No, it goes 2 aspects. From the bottom, people have got to, where they can, voice their opinions on this to show that other opinions exist. And also, we need somebody at the top to say something. Whatever the screams they're going to get or whatever, they've got to be able to state and that gives that feeds back and that gives support to the people down there.
Patricia Morgan, it's such a genuine privilege to talk to you. I thought your book was wonderful, a real great analysis. I look forward to I know you're working on some other stuff. We won't bother talking about that until it comes out, but I look forward to it very much. I want to thank you for your time, for your contribution, for your courage in doing what you've done, and wish you all the very best for everything you're working on now.
Thanks so much. And I hope I can get it out soon. Yes.
Great. Now, before you go, if you want to support the work of Coalition for Marriage, hop across to our website, click that donate button. And in the meantime, please don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And on our website, if you want to receive our mailing list and you haven't already subscribed, please pop across there and subscribe too. Until next time, thank you for watching.